I have to say, as a mom, some of the comments that people would make would upset me. They were 90% positive, which I loved reading and,
Yeah.
seeing, maybe 95. But those other few that were negative, I remember probably calling you one day and just saying, "Oh my goodness, how are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
And you were so wise. You just said, you can't pay attention to that. It doesn't matter what you do in life, there's going to be somebody who's going to be negative on it.
At First Rounds on Me, we believe that one real date is better than 100 pen pals. With our mobile dating app, we make it fun and easy for you to meet someone in person for a real date. See someone you're interested in? We help plan your date. Pick a drink, a time, a venue, and send that person a date invite. It's that simple.
Ooh. Okay. Welcome back to Crowdsourcing Love. Today I'm with my mother, Kris Haugo. Hi, Mom.
Hello, Maren. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
So you're here for Thanksgiving from Minnesota.
We are.
How have your travels been?
They have been absolutely awesome. We had a smooth, fast flight and met new people again. Yeah, it's been fun.
Amazing. So just to give some people context about who you are, you were a teacher for many years, you're retired,
Yes.
you grew up all over the world.
True.
Can you talk a little bit about your upbringing?
Oh, how long do you want me to talk about that?
I mean, I'll definitely cut you off if it
okay.
goes too long.
Sure, sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was born in Minnesota, but at the ripe old age of 6 weeks, started our jaunts moving from place to place. We lived in Los Angeles, Honolulu, back to Minnesota. We were in India for 4 years, England for 4 years, Ohio briefly, and then back to Minnesota, and I've been there since.
Yeah, so you grew up all over the world. You were the daughter of a missionary. Wow, that was hard to say.
Yeah.
So what was it like having a pastor as a dad? Was it harder dating? Was he more strict with the guys?
No, he was pretty hands off in that department.
Okay.
Definitely the quiet parent in things.
Okay.
I remember some conversations from time to time where we'd have a moment of serious talk.
Okay.
But I would say my mom was probably the more involved.
Yeah.
Day to day and more conversational about things. I was at boarding school for 4 years, from when I was 8 until I was 12.
Okay.
And then from when I was 12 to 16, my dad traveled probably 8 weeks out of every 10 or 12.
Okay. So he was pretty MIA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was present when he was present, but I would say he wasn't in on a lot of the day in and day out happenings of teenage life.
Yeah. And then how did growing up everywhere around the world, going to boarding school for a long time, how did that affect how you chose a partner and how you dated later on?
I love that question. And it affected things all the way along. I really appreciated growing up all over because I think it gave me a world perspective. And I've always, since I was tiny, considered myself to be a world citizen.
Yeah.
I am an American and pleased to be, but
Yeah.
I'm a world citizen, and I like having that world view. When I graduated from Concordia in Moorhead, I started applying for teaching jobs, and despite my almost best efforts to not reply, I ended up in small town Minnesota.
Yeah,
in a
that's
job
crazy.
where I didn't return the application, but somehow they came looking and convinced me to take the job there. So I said, okay, well, I'll be here for about 2 years and then start traveling the world again, doing my thing. And I met your dad, John, and I've told him, and I might get emotional here, but in a way, he rescued me. Our relationship was something that gave me a foundation, and kind of a permanence in a place that I hadn't known before.
Yeah.
And that was school. That was a great place to raise 4 kids and form a life.
Yeah, so that's interesting that you say he rescued you and gave you that permanent feeling of home.
Mm-hmm.
So are you glad that you stayed in a small town for how long have you guys been married?
38 and a half years.
Okay.
And our relationship goes back 42.
You've been
plus
married for
years.
38 years?
Yeah.
I thought it was like 30.
No?
Wow.
Okay, Maren, how old are you?
Oh, yeah. I'm 32.
And your sisters. And
Okay, you're right.
brother, yeah.
I'm
that's
in
funny.
denial about my age.
That's funny.
Clearly.
But yeah, and I don't mean rescued me from, I mean, my other life was great, you know, but it just gave a different take to things. And for a family and for developing vocation and a place within, you know, the educational world there, and then the community, maybe more of a sense of community than I'd had before that.
Yeah, because you would probably form one, and then right as you were getting your footing, you would leave again.
Do you know that that's something that I still struggle with?
Really?
Because yes, one of my patterns, out of necessity, was you leave someplace, you cut ties, emotional ties, whatever ties. You'd have to move on to a new culture, a new set of friends, a new school, a new, you know, everything. And to this day, you know, if somebody moves away or whatever, it's kind of like, okay, well, they're gone on. And no,
They no longer exist. Bye.
It is still, you know, in this day and age, accessible to maintain relationships. Whereas moving in the 1960s and 70s to different countries, yeah, realistically.
What were you going to do? Write letters?
Exactly.
Yeah, there was no social media.
Right.
So do you remember the first time you saw Dad?
I do.
Tell us the story.
Well, it was in February of 1981, and 3 colleagues, friends, other women, and I had decided to go to a town about 45 miles away to ride the bull. It was seriously the days of mechanical bulls were big, like in bars and
I
stuff.
cannot picture you riding a bull.
We never made it because
Okay.
I was driving. The other
Yep.
3, white knuckle, were all in the car. There was a snowstorm.
Okay.
So we made it about 8 miles and decided, you know, it wasn't worth risking our lives to ride a mechanical bull.
I would agree.
So we turned around and went back to town, and one of the gals called a guy that she knew and said, okay, we're out having dinner, we'd like to dance afterwards. There was a band over in the bar side of this establishment, and, you know, bring some friends, come on. So Dad was one of the 4 guys that arrived.
Wow.
And no kidding, when those guys walked in, I looked at your dad and I thought, I'm going to marry that one.
Is it just because he's 6'5"?
No, but here's the real clincher.
What?
All the rest of the guys came over, so we had 7 of us sitting around this table. Dad went over to where one of his clients was at the bar and sat there the whole night and talked to him.
So he's playing hard to get.
Well, I know he was he was just a little unconscious, I think.
Okay.
And, you know, just went to the familiar, and but then a week later we all got together, and
so
the rest is history.
Cute. So you guys were in the same friend group then?
Absolutely. We were friends for months.
Okay.
And probably weekly or every couple of weeks we'd get together, and this will sound lame probably to you, but we'd, you know, cook supper, we'd play games.
Just you and him?
No, the 8 of us.
Oh, that's cute.
We'd play games. We went over to the next door town and went roller skating one time, and we just did
Wait, I want to live that life. That sounds amazing.
It was so fun. So we did all of that, and when we were at one of these friend gatherings one time, I went to wash some of the dishes up, and he came over to help wash the dishes.
Oh.
It was kind of like, okay.
You could feel the vibe.
Yeah, the vibe. And then so, you know, about 3 months later, he asked me out to dinner.
How did he do it?
probably called on the landline. We
Oh,
only
he
had
did.
landlines then.
Wow, that's so cute. I wish
Yeah.
someone would call me on a landline. I don't have one, but I wish.
It's just a thing, huh?
So okay, so when he walked into the bar the first time you saw him,
Hmm.
how do you know that he was the person? Like, what was going through your mind? Was it an energy? Was it just because he was pretty good looking? What was it?
No, I don't. Well, I'd probably be lying if I said it had nothing to do with looks.
Okay.
But I mean, you're attracted to
Yeah.
a look,
Uh-huh.
and but no, there was just something. Until you get to know him, he's very quiet and
Yeah.
reserved,
Mhm.
and but yet he kind of had a confidence, and
Mm.
it was just like, yeah, interested, and
You were into it.
that's the one.
And then he, God, what? What were you going to say?
No, I just think it's so crazy because why would that thought go through my brain?
I mean, I've had that thought like 50 times. Just kidding. I haven't,
Okay,
but maybe.
well, one of these days, Mark.
One of them will work.
Yeah.
Had you ever had that thought before?
No.
Okay. Okay. Do you think it was because you were in a small town and it was a limited pool? Not trying to like devalue your relationship. It's very cute, but
I
just curious.
don't think so. Yes, there were
Mhm.
limited. Well, kind of.
Like
But
there
in
were
some
so many
ways-
eligible men and women within a town of 6,000 people.
Right. So, yes, the pool was not large, but
Okay.
yet, I mean, you still were in contact with people from college and,
Okay, so there are other
whatnot. So, yeah,
options.
there were, but, yeah, it's just the way it worked out.
Cute. Okay, and then he took 4 years to propose to you. Did you almost lose your mind? That's a long time.
There were times, well, because, honestly, we both knew and we both expressed that this was it.
Yeah.
Probably within 3 months from when we went on our first date.
Okay.
And there were times where it was like, okay, what is the holdup here?
Mm-hmm.
But, I'm pretty open with communication on things. So I just asked him, okay,
You're like,
what's the deal?
plan?
We kind of have both said that this is it. We plan to marry each other. And long story short, he had somebody very close to him who'd been through a bad breakup who had told him
Wasn't it a divorce?
yes,
Yeah.
who had said, make sure you know this person really, really, really well
Mm-hmm.
before you propose.
Yeah.
So he took that to heart. He's quite a literal guy.
He
So
is.
he
Took 4 whole years.
took 4 whole years. But it's okay. Honestly, I think I wasn't as anxious about it as his mom.
Oh, really?
She would say to him,
Mhm.
I found out much later, I never knew it at the time, but
Mm-hmm.
you had better propose to her. She might just get tired of waiting and take off.
Yeah, and you're a catch, so I'm
Well,
glad he finally listened.
Thank you.
Okay, so what was dating like in your generation? Like, do you see generational differences between when you dated and how my dating experience has played out?
That's a great question. And differences, yes, I would say for sure. And the biggest of them you've already alluded to, and that's social media,
Mm-hmm.
as well as cell phones
Yep.
and the immediacy of the ability to make contact with somebody. Whereas I'm really sounding old here.
No,
but
it's okay.
back in the day,
She is 65, just so everyone knows.
Yeah.
You look really good.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
But I own it.
Own it, girl.
That's what I am.
Okay.
It was the day of landlines and, limited ways to get a hold of each other.
Mhm.
No texting, no FaceTime, no Facebook, no Instagram, no cell phones. So it did limit it. He would every now and then, though, he would go out and exercise. He'd go biking or he'd go running, and then he'd just appear at my door, sweaty and usually carrying tomatoes or something from the garden to give me.
Wait, that's so cute.
It was cute.
So he would just pop
So
up
he-
out of nowhere?
Yeah, he'd just show up.
Wait,
and-
that's kind of nice.
Yeah,
But
he-
also like a little intrusive.
No, but we knew each other fairly well by
Okay,
then.
you were dating.
Yeah, we were
Okay.
dating, so it was cute.
Cute.
Or he showed up with his dogs one time and said, "Let's go take the dogs out to the countryside." And so it was in person or it was a landline.
So there was less games and ambiguity. Because like if you wanted to see someone, you had to take a really physical action of talking to them or seeing them in real life.
yes, there had to be definite intent to connect. I would say there were still plenty of games, not between the two of us, but in my earlier dating life or whatever.
really?
There were people that, you talk about ghosting on social media now. I mean, people would ghost by just not calling or not showing up or going the other direction if they saw you coming.
Wait, they would not show up?
Well, sure. I mean,
I would murder that person.
yeah, but yeah, the way it's done has changed, but there still was good and bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Were there situationships back in your day?
I don't know what a situationship is.
It's when you're seeing somebody consistently, but you're not putting a title on it. So you're not committing to it with like
Oh.
intention, talking about the future. It's more so like you're seeing each other, you're acting like you're a couple, but there's no like future goals being explored or a label on your relationship.
I would say yes, that probably did exist.
Okay.
Back in the day, it just wasn't called that.
What was it called?
Non-committal.
Non-committal?
Yeah, I don't know. I remember, though, this is funny. This sparks a memory of when you girls first started dating, especially, beyond high school, more in college. And I would say back in our day, either you were dating or you weren't.
Mm-hmm.
You were engaged or you weren't. I mean, it was kind of dating, engagement, marriage.
Yeah, it was black and white.
Yeah. And I asked one of you, so are you dating this person? No, we're just seeing each other, or we're just, I don't even remember what all the other steps were.
That sounds like Laura.
It could have been.
Yeah.
But
We're just talking.
yeah, okay, talking. What were all the other steps? There were all these steps, and it was like, oh yeah, we never had that.
Yeah, there were so many steps, and there still are a lot of steps.
Are there?
I think we're sick of the steps. I think there was a time where there were more steps, and now we're kind of, the pendulum, I think, is swinging because people are sick of all the steps.
So it's come back to either you're dating or you're not?
I think it's coming back.
I
Because
think that's a good thing.
I think it is too. And I think people are learning from each other. And obviously social media has its downfalls and negatives, but also a positive is that there's information being spread all day, every day, and women are empowering each other to, and men, of course, are being empowered as well, but to own what they want, and they're listening to each other and learning from each other. And so I think there's less people getting duped,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and I think maybe now it's all kind of coming back. The word that was the hang up was girlfriend, boyfriend.
Okay.
Oh, we're not there yet. Whereas back when it was like, well, if you were dating somebody, then they were your girlfriend
Yeah.
or boyfriend.
Where now girlfriend, boyfriend almost feels like, oh my God, we're married. And like, I think
Oh.
that's so stupid. I think be boyfriend, girlfriend, commit to each other, try it out. If it doesn't work, then just break up.
Exactly.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But for whatever reason, I think a lot of people are commitment phobes. But I don't know if it's just because it seems like there's evergreen options. You know, with dating apps, there's no scarcity. And so you don't really have to make up your mind. Or it
Yeah.
feels like you don't have to.
Sure, I understand that.
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, back again, I'm sounding really old here. Back in the day,
Back in the day, I'm going to say that someday.
there we go.
Yeah.
Dating, I mean, the commitment part, definitely if you were boyfriend, girlfriend and dating, you would hope there's some level of commitment. But the engagement was where you really kind of stated your intention that, okay, this is
Very
a
serious.
permanent, serious thing for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. To me, it's semantics. Like,
For sure.
But whatever. Okay. Was there a lot of hookup culture back in your day?
Sure.
Really?
You know what?
People were always kind of horny?
I think that goes back centuries and
Okay.
millennia, don't you?
Probably.
Yeah.
But people always just talk about how hookup culture is so toxic in our era. I don't think it's necessarily something new, though. It seems like it's kind of always been happening.
Yeah, there may have been times in our history where there was more denial about it, maybe, or you didn't talk about it out loud.
Ooh, yeah, that's probably it. People didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what's it like having 4 children with somebody?
Wonderful.
Is it?
Oh, absolutely.
You love that?
The delight of my life.
Oh, you're so cute.
Oh, no, it's the truth. You know, yeah, we are so proud of you 4, and, you know, we tell each other we're 4 for 4 with wonderful human beings who are kind and respectful and making the world a better place.
Aw, that's so nice. Did having 4 kids take a toll on your relationship?
No, I think, again, it's something that strengthened our bond in that we were working together to do our best, you know, to raise you guys. We definitely didn't always see eye to eye. I was probably, and you'll second this in a heartbeat, the one that was a little bit more serious, took things a little bit more seriously.
Oh, yes.
Whereas Dad was more like, oh, they're just, you know, they're just 15. It's okay. And it was like, oh, but
Yeah, you were a little bit more of a helicopter, and Dad was like a little bit more of he was like a little more chill, but not.
yeah.
I think you guys were a good balance.
Yeah.
And I think you needed the opposing energies.
For sure. I
Yeah.
think it was a great partnership. I don't think I was helicopter.
I think
I was hands-on.
hands-on. No, I mean, you definitely, you know, you could hover sometimes. But I think,
Okay, I'll own that.
I mean, like, look at me and Archie. I think the apple and the tree are pretty close together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There were times I could, yes.
But I'm grateful. You're a really good mom, and you wanted the
Thank
best
you.
for us. And
Absolutely.
I think that's good. Like, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And circling back, I think part of, and again, it's not an excuse. Sorry to all 4 of you if I ever over-hovered.
No, we loved it.
But I think it maybe does circle back to the fact that out of necessity, I had to be so independent so early
Yeah.
that I didn't want you guys to feel
Alone.
that you had to be an adult at 8 or 9.
Like you had to be at boarding
And
school.
I mean, not that we were adults. We obviously didn't behave like adults, but yet had to be responsible for ourselves. So one of my big goals was always to have you guys know somebody else had your back and
Yeah.
somebody else was in your corner with you.
Yeah. And to be honest, I don't like it when people say, my family did too much for me. I just think that's such a victim mentality. And like, I'm grateful that you did so much for me. And like, if I had to choose between being with a parent that's completely hands off or someone who's very hands on, I'd take hands on every day of the week. Well, how did you make 30 years of marriage work?
38.
38.
30 worked, another 8.
30
not so
plus.
Great, huh?
I lost count. 38. How did you make that many years? Because that's a long time.
It is a long time, and there are seasons to it. You know,
Okay.
there's the early newlywed season. There's, you know, the young kid, very little sleep season. With Dad having the vet clinic and being on call a lot, that was sometimes challenging. You know, there were some years where he worked literally 365 days a year.
Yeah, my dad was a veterinarian.
Yeah.
I'm
so
just clarifying that because one time I told a guy I was dating a guy, and I was like, yeah, my dad's a vet. And then on Veterans Day, he was like, Happy Veterans Day to your dad.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And I'm like, thank you, but he's a veterinarian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, veterinarian.
We had to clarify. Anyways.
So there are seasons to it, and you know, as each one of you took off on your own to go to college and beyond, you know, being empty nesters, then there's definitely was an adjustment there.
Yeah.
But it's good. You know, it's all about commitment in relationship.
Yep. And staying committed.
Yeah.
I feel like you and Dad also had like very aligned family-oriented values.
I think that's extremely important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel like your personalities weren't always the same.
True.
but because you had those, like, that foundation of core values, I feel like that's really helped you guys over the years.
I think definitely. Yeah, we've come back to that many times, and we've also expressed that we're so thankful that our two sets of parents were always supportive and flexible, and yeah,
You had a village kind of propping you up.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Which child would you give back if you had to choose to give back one?
Oh, that is a terrible question.
Would it be Ben?
I'm
I'm just kidding.
not giving back anybody.
Okay.
No way.
I thought I'd ask. Archie.
Aren't you just glad I didn't say you?
Oh, I mean,
No.
shots fired. That's so funny. What were you thinking when I started to go on 28 dates in February, and how did you find out? Because I'm pretty sure I did not tell you.
I did actually first find out from you.
Really?
Yeah.
What did I say?
Well, it was not on day one, that's for sure.
No.
We were probably at about day 8 or 9.
Okay.
And yeah, and you told us, and again, it was just like, oh man, this woman is creative. And
I thought you were going to say crazy.
No. Well, a little bit of that too.
Yeah, of course. I also get that from you.
Well, thank you. Yes, that's true.
And the creativity. But anyways.
But it was one of those things. I have to say I have learned a lot about the social media world through what you've done. My exposure was pretty limited before that. I'm not nearly as brave as you are, so part of me was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I could put myself out there like that. But it doesn't matter because it wasn't about me. It was about you. And so, yes, we just, fully embrace that you know what you're doing, and more power to you for being bold and for going about it in a way that, again, a couple of my favorite words was kind and respectful, and showed who you really are, showed your light.
Aw, well, thank you. That's very supportive. I remember I didn't tell you before I did it because honestly, I had no idea what was going to happen. And it could have been something where it was just kind of like a 0, where like I went on the dates, nothing kind of popped off because I didn't know it was going to pop off. How could I have guessed that?
Right.
And so, yeah, I didn't tell you at the beginning because I didn't know how relevant it was for you guys to know, and I didn't want you guys to be worried. Were you worried about like how the media was going to respond, or like any negative feedback, out there on Twitter or anything like that?
I think, well, as a mom, my first worry was your safety.
Yeah.
And I know we had talks about that as your journey progressed.
Yeah.
And I mean, you did things the right way, and put my mind at ease that, and I've always known this, your head is on straight, and you were doing things to make sure you were safe.
Yeah.
So that was probably number one. As I started following you on Instagram, once I knew about it.
Yeah, she wasn't following me at the beginning. She wasn't an OG.
Right.
Wow.
I have to say, as a mom, some of the comments that people would make would upset me. They were 90% positive, which I loved reading and, seeing, maybe 95. But those other few that were negative, I remember probably calling you one day and just saying, oh my goodness, how are you doing? And you were so wise. You just said, you can't pay attention to that. It doesn't matter what you do in life. There's going to be somebody who's going to be negative on it.
Yep.
And I could reflect on that and think, okay, as a teacher, I mean, hopefully the vast majority of my students and their families were happy with what was going on. But no matter what you do, there's somebody who isn't happy.
No, and I remember like you and Anna and probably everyone at some point was wondering, like, am I okay with some of the negativity coming towards me?
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. Like, I didn't read it, or if I did read it, I just, like, didn't internalize it, because I really do think that when it comes to art or doing meaningful things, that, like, unless you're evoking emotion out of people, like, if no one said anything,
Mm-hmm.
then you're not doing something.
Yeah.
But any big response, both negative and positive, it shows that you're actually changing the course, or I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, you're
I
creating
understand
art,
what you're saying.
but
Yeah.
it wasn't an art installation that I was doing. It was more so me trying to find my person.
Absolutely. But yes, whenever you put yourself out there
Mm-hmm.
with passion, with conviction,
Yep.
you are going to get responses, and they're not always going to be the same.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. So what kind of person do you think I should be with? Because I feel like sometimes I'm like, she'll just be happy if he's alive and he's breathing.
Not true.
Okay.
No. I wish for you
Mm-hmm.
someone, first of all, that is kind to you, but is kind to everybody in the world. Because you can tell a lot about somebody by how they treat you, but you can tell almost more when they don't know you're looking and they're kind and gracious
Mm.
to whomever they encounter. You
Yeah.
know? So somebody with that kind of a soul and that kind of a heart. Somebody who has a good sense of fun and adventure,
Mhm.
and who wants to journey together with somebody, who doesn't necessarily have a predetermined view of what the journey is going to be,
Mm-hmm.
because who knows going into it, you need to develop that together. So somebody with a partnership mindset.
Okay, I love that. Do you have any, like, physical predictions?
No, no, I just think that's probably
That's a really weird question.
But that's probably the least of the worries, you know.
Yeah.
It's all about who the person is.
I agree. I think that I need to be attracted to them, but
Mm-hmm.
I think like the most important thing is that we have a similar, like, lifestyle, goals, values,
Mm-hmm.
banter, humor, like, stuff like
Absolutely.
that. That's all I care about.
Absolutely, because here's a tip.
What is it?
No matter what the package looks like when it's young and shiny and new to you, if your plan is to go through this life together long term, that changes.
The packaging.
The package changes, absolutely. You know, what used to be muscles all of a sudden aren't muscles anymore.
Oh.
And what used to not sags, and
Yeah.
you know, things change, and you know, so that's why that's maybe lower on the list, because
Yeah, if you're dating someone or marrying someone because you like to look at them and there's nothing else there, good luck, because the package is going to change, and
absolutely
everyone ages, no one stays the same forever.
right.
People get old, people go through different health issues,
Health
accidents.
issues happen. I think but
Yeah.
that internal core
Mhm.
of the values and the common goals, that lives on.
That remains.
Yeah.
Is it hard on you that I haven't found anyone yet?
Is it hard on me? It's not hard on me, because I think what you're doing is intriguing and wonderful, and you're using so much of the gifts that you have right now. But I know that you have a desire to find your person.
Mhm.
And as a mom, I want that for you.
Mhm.
You know, I'm not sitting around lamenting things, because I do believe that you will find your person. And I believe it's just a matter of who and when.
So the holidays are coming up. It's really hard on singles. You know, there's loneliness. There's having to explain to your family, like, hey, I'm still not with anyone, another Christmas, whatever, Hanukkah, whatever holidays you celebrate. So is it hard on you though? Like, do you have your friends asking you, what's up with Marin's love life? Like, you know what I mean? Because you're connected to me. And so even though it's not your love life, by association, do you have to deal with the same questions and kind of field those same things?
Does the question come up with friends? Sure.
Okay.
But in a most supportive way.
Okay.
You know, I have great friends who, if they ask, it's only because they love you and care about you.
Mhm.
And if the answer is, well, nobody yet, it's like, okay, it's still to come.
Okay.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
so cute.
And you know what? I want you to remember,
Yes.
and others to remember too, that I understand that the holidays and special occasions like that can be difficult
Mhm.
without, having a partner by your side. But that doesn't devalue you in any way.
Yeah.
You are valuable in and of yourself. And any other person who hasn't found that significant other yet,
Mhm.
it's not a devaluation of you. It's just a not yet.
Yep. So it's a not yet. Because I always say, if you had met your person, you would be with them.
Yeah.
And so you just haven't met them yet, or it's not the right timing.
Yeah.
And you just have to trust in your timing and in your life. And
Yeah.
I think knowing that you do hold value and loving yourself is the most powerful thing you can do. And then oftentimes, as a result, you attract the person once you're deep
Absolutely.
in that journey of self-love.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So kind of going back to you, what is it like being married as a 65-year-old? You're both now retired.
Mhm.
What's that journey been like?
Great. I'm
It's amazing.
Yes. Woo!
Oh, that's funny.
No, it's good. I do feel very fortunate, and I'm not trying to be dramatic with this, but
Mhm.
we had a time 4 years ago where it was touch and go as to whether Dad would still be here.
Yeah.
And there were moments where I had to face the fact that, maybe this is it. Now,
Mhm.
thankfully, we are still both here.
Yep.
So I'm, Thanksgiving week, I'm grateful. I'm
Mhm.
grateful to still have my partner here.
Mhm.
That being said, do we bicker with each other? Yeah. Do we,
It's like a comedy show
It-
watching you two.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
We have our moments. But bottom line, there's never any question on the side of either one of us that despite all of that, we're in it for the long run.
Yeah.
And, there are people our age or older that seemingly out of the blue call it quits. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, the commitment is 100% there. Our joy as a family is what means the most to us.
you. Yeah, I think it's called Golden Divorce.
Yeah, which
It's like the Golden Bachelor.
kind of, the opposite of.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I'm guessing some of those people on the show were Golden Divorcees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
could have been. And it is a thing, but no, there's no worry about that. Like you say, our comedy show is,
Yeah.
there, but it's a comfort level too. It's
Yeah.
just.
I can't imagine either of you getting back out on the dating scene.
Oh, no.
That sounds like it might be a bit of a shit show.
You got that right.
I could see Dad accidentally like swiping the wrong way, like
Oh,
yelling at his phone.
we don't even have to
Worry about that.
worry or talk about that because that ain't happening, girl.
Okay, well, I mean, it does happen for some people.
It does.
and our heart is with those people.
Absolutely.
It is what it is.
And the sweetest thing, I mean, we know and have as friends some couples that are probably 10 or 15 or 20 years older than we are who have lost a spouse and have become a partner with somebody else.
Mhm.
Not always in marriage, but just that companionship,
Yeah.
because ultimately relationship is what carries us through life.
I think so too, and I think it's so sad that my generation specifically, I think my generation, millennial and Gen Zs, we're very isolated. And part of me feels like the conspiracy theorist in me thinks it's like the business of dating. That's my next episode later, so that's why it's on the top of my mind. But
Sure.
I just feel like from a capitalism standpoint, I feel like there's a lot of motives to keep people isolated, single, separated.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just like me being dark.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope there's not a conspiracy towards
I don't think
that.
there is, but I do think that our world is now set up where people they can be very hyper independent, and they
Sure,
don't
yeah.
need to find a partner. And
Yeah.
in a way it's good because now women don't need to rely on men for money, for a bank account, for all those things that they used to.
Absolutely. And, you know, speaking of that, shout out to women and men that are friends and others in the world who did not ever find a partner, but who did find all sorts of other ways through community for relationship and to live meaningful lives.
I agree. Shout out. Also, though, I do wonder if people want something. So I just had a podcast with somebody who specializes in feminine, like divine feminine, soft girl era theory. And she's like, the right person will move mountains for you. You're not asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong person. And I know that there is a relationship tax that exists where whoever you end up with, there's going to be something about them that drives you nuts. It might be they're a little bit late, they're a little bit messy, it might be just something. Maybe they like anime or like going to Renaissance fairs or whatever it could be. There's just going to be something that's like kind of off about them.
They might wear their hood up the whole winter long and never take it down.
Okay, so shots fired. But there's just always going to be something about someone, right? No one's perfect,
Right,
including
that's-
us. We are flawed. We have our little quirks.
Absolutely.
Do you think that people are pickier nowadays versus, you know, when you were getting into a relationship and your friends were getting into relationships?
You know, that's a great question, and I don't know that they're pickier.
Mm-hmm.
I would maybe use the word more discerning.
Okay.
In the way that it used to be that the expectations were, you know, you finished high school or you finished college, and career was there for you, perhaps as a woman. I'm specifically speaking to,
Yeah.
but marriage was seen as a next step at that point. You know, I mean, for women older than myself, even at 19 or at 18 or 21, I was 27 when I got married
Yeah.
because of those 4 years for
Yeah,
for one.
it could have happened sooner,
Yeah,
but yeah.
But that was seen as being, you know, getting up there for
Kinda
getting
old,
married,
yeah.
of old, yeah. And now we look at 27 and it's like, no, that's, you know, kind of early on or mid-range.
Yep.
So I think that, yeah, the processes maybe changed and the level of discernment.
But it's almost like if you don't make a decision, like you don't do anything.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to overthink things to the point that nobody is going to be good enough for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, everybody is flawed. We all are.
Yeah.
And look for the good. I mean, anytime you meet somebody, look for the qualities that stand out on the positive side.
Yeah, that's a
You
good
know?
point. Yeah, I mean, I definitely go through phases. I think I'm in a very healthy space right now
Awesome.
where I am looking for the good, and I feel as though because I recently announced like I'm not going to be talking about my dating journey as much in real time. I'll like still tell stories. I'll still like convey everything, but it's just going to be a little bit delayed because I need the space and time to be a little bit mysterious to these guys because that's how men work. Like they need to kind of pursue and like understand who you are, and like you can't just be like, this is how I'm feeling. I feel like they need a little bit of like, they need to prove themselves.
Well, they need to prove themselves.
Yeah.
And you as well. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a two-way street. So I think that's wise to kind of step back a little bit.
Yeah.
to allow both people to, get to know each other.
Yeah.
And get to know what each other are truly about without the spotlight.
Without like giving like courtside
Yeah.
feedback.
Yeah.
Updates.
Yep.
Announcements. What do they say on the courtside? Courtside. Whatever.
Courtside something.
I don't know. Okay, so I have a few listener questions.
All right.
What's your favorite Thanksgiving food?
Stuffing for sure.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Mine is mashed potatoes.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Gravy or no?
No.
No.
But I do like a little cranberry and butter.
Ooh.
It's kind of crazy.
That sounds really good.
Ooh.
Yeah, that sounds great.
How do you think dating changed for this generation, and is the change good or bad?
Social media is a huge change. I
Mhm.
think that can be good if it's used for the power of good,
Mm-hmm.
with good intent, with some restraint, with not being on it 24/7, which is restraint,
Mm-hmm.
with kindness. I think, and I've seen this even with people of my generation, who can get onto social media and forget that there are social norms and manners and things that should be observed.
Mm-hmm.
And just because the person isn't right next to you, don't change those. Use the same manners, use the same kindness, use the same etiquette. That, I know that's an old-fashioned word, but it's appropriate now too,
Yeah.
that you would if there were somebody sitting right next to you.
I don't think etiquette's that old-fashioned.
Okay, good.
But no, I think that's so true. And I think that if you use social media in a way that's like super crazy or cringy, or you're disparaging others or whatnot, part of me is like, that's great, because now I can see that you're a bit of a nut, and I want to know that so that I can keep it moving. Like, I don't want that, you know what I mean? Like, maybe somebody who is soft-spoken and polite in person, then all of a sudden you see their social media and you're like, oh wow, like deep down, like they're kind of crazy.
Yeah, that kind of circles back to how do they treat people when they don't know you're watching.
True. And so I'm like, in a way, I'm grateful for social media because it reveals that side of things.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, I'm like, it does take away the mystery, but I think the lesson is, like, if you're on social media, like, have tact and be normal. Otherwise, you're probably gonna scare some people away.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I've scared some people away, but I'm not upset about it because I feel like I've been true to myself this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And I do feel like this is who I am, and I like being, in the spotlight. Like, I like having a platform.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's not going to go away.
Yeah.
And so they need to be comfortable with that side of myself.
And that's fair. And that's a reality in 2023.
Right.
But I guess the other side of that is, don't rely just on social media. I mean, if you truly want to develop a meaningful relationship with somebody, there comes a point where you need to be talking, and you need to be, not texting. I mean, like,
on the phone.
Dial the phone.
Yeah.
And get some of those nuances that you don't get through written text.
Yeah, I agree. Do you and Dad text?
We do.
Is it ever flirty?
Oh, once in a while.
Ooh, that's a new fact for me.
There you go.
Ooh, keeping it spicy. Okay, this is a really juicy question. What about your partner has changed since first dating, and what qualities to look for early?
What has changed about him?
Yep. Since when you first began dating?
I think, honestly, the things that have changed are mostly health and age related.
Okay.
That, because of the health challenges that he's had because of being now 70 years old, he's always been kind of literal, but now he's like really literal. You know, and I think I'm kind of funny sometimes, maybe not too often, but he doesn't get it.
But maybe not to him.
It doesn't get it
to
as
me,
much
you're
anymore.
funny. I'll laugh at you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So some of those things are just natural changes. The other big change is when we sold the business, and he wasn't actively working or practicing anymore,
Mhm.
and he was ready for that. So I was all in favor, supportive of doing that.
Mhm.
But it's interesting once your focus changes from being a little bit more broad to more the home front and
Mhm.
family front. That's been a change.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then what do you think people should pay attention to early days of dating?
Um, Pay attention to your gut feelings.
Okay.
Pay attention to when you're in conversation with somebody, are they listening as well as talking?
Mhm.
If there's somebody who's giving you all this information about themselves, but they don't ask about you or don't go beyond the surface of you,
Mhm.
that would be a concern to me. If you, and not that you do this the first minute, but as your conversations progress, I mean, you want to be talking about things that are real.
Yeah. That's amazing. Okay, well, we're coming up on time.
Okay.
So before we go,
This went really fast.
I know it was really fun.
Tons of fun.
Before we go, what is your biggest piece of dating advice?
I've said it probably 3 or 4 times already within just our time here together, but be kind. As you're looking for somebody and that somebody's looking for you, treat them the way you want to be treated. Be considerate. If no matter how you're feeling about the progression of the relationship, communicate. I know ghosting is a thing. I learned what that is now.
Mutual ghosting.
Yeah,
She's the editor for my journal.
yeah.
Mhm.
But just communicate and do it in a way that's respectful and kind. And even if somebody has done something that doesn't sit the right way with you, take the time to say, I'm not sure this is going to go any further, and here's something that maybe we can learn from this.
Yeah.
That was hurtful to me.
A little constructive feedback.
Constructive, yeah,
Mhm.
and not in a mean way. Just always wish the other person well,
Mhm.
and yeah, may everybody find their person.
I love it. Also, I want to know, thank you again for editing my journal with me.
You're welcome. It was so fun.
And you were just so helpful. Go ahead.
You are talented, gifted, wonderfully creative,
Thank you.
and am I allowed to just ad lib something here?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. One thing about Maren, since she was tiny, she's always had this ability to see beyond the surface of people and to read beyond and to kind of see who somebody is. And I'm just really proud that you've been able to grow that gift and to use it in new and exciting ways.
Oh, well, thank you. And I'm really grateful for you, and thank you for being such a good mom and so supportive and putting up with me through all my different seasons and phases.
It's joy.
And I'm excited for you. She's also creative and has some books that are brewing. She's an author. What can people watch from your front?
I have a series of children's books that I'm working on,
Mm-hmm.
as well as more of a memoir-based book that has to do with being global,
Mm-hmm.
but also it has intertwining throughout it some of the lessons we can learn as a now global society.
Mm-hmm.
Lessons from what I learned early on that
Mhm.
still translate into how we can be inclusive and more understanding of everybody within the world.
I love it. Well,
Yeah.
thank you again. I love you.
I love you.
And yeah, go follow her. Where can people follow you?
We don't have a landline anymore, so
So you can't call
so not on
her.
the landline. Eventually it'll emerge. Should we do a shout out to your sibs too?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, Laura, Anna, Maren, Ben,
Ben.
Grandkids, Josie and Frankie and August and Will.
Yeah, they're really cute. And
Yeah,
the
love you all.
in-laws did not get a shout out, which I love.
Oh gosh. Sorry. Patrick, Willie, and Olivia, we love you guys too.
Maybe. Potentially. No, I'm just kidding. Love you guys. Love you, Dad.